love me so much more than I could ever know. Your love is deeper than this world will ever show. And all of life's beauty shines around this moment now. The sky and the cliffs, they seem to change my life somehow. And I will never be the same. Will never be the same. Whoa, I will never be the same. Never be the same ever again. Well, here I am waiting, Lord, my life is just for you. Please unfold all the plans that you would have me do. And if all the world's just a breath and nothing's here to stay, then all of the love we feel will save us anyway. And I will never be the same. Will never be the same. Whoa, I will never be the same. Will never be the same ever again.
God's will is simple. The most wretched man in hell will not be Adolf Hitler. The most wretched man in hell, or woman, will not be one like Joe Stalin or some of these more modern devils. The most wretched person in hell will be a former Seventh-day Adventist.
Hello and welcome to SDAQ&A. How are you, Alan?
Yeah, good, Pete. Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. Good to have you all here today. And just a quick plug for tomorrow. Remember, every week we have Good News Fellowship where we just look at the good news, the gospel, minus all the filters. Special guest presenter each week. I think Danny Big is on tomorrow. So make sure you join us this time tomorrow. Well, today we've got a very interesting conversation. Alan Simpson. I've just put the earth is flat with a question mark. And Alan and I know each other from way back. I think I may have even known Linda.
Yeah, at school.
At school days.
She was teaching there. I think you were too.
That's right. Some of her relatives and whatnot. And one of my good mates, Glenn Lowe, we were at school together. You were first cousin with him.
Yeah.
So it's that classic Seventh-day Adventist 6 degrees of separation. And yeah, I've also your mother, Faye Simpson. Her and I have good biffo back and forth with our conversations.
Yeah.
Agreeing, misunderstanding, disagreeing. And she's a great person. So yeah, that's just by way of introduction, letting people know that you and I know each other. A lot of people warned me off this topic, and I thought, have you guys ever seen my shows? I'm not here as a debater. I love finding out what people believe, why they believe, what are their defenses for those beliefs. So if anyone is watching expecting some kind of great biffo debate that...
change channels. This won't happen here.
Channels, exactly. And also, I'm actually very ignorant about this topic. I have observed from afar the whole flat Earth, the globe. To me personally, I believe in the Earth's a globe, a sphere. Maybe I'm wrong, but a lot of the questions in life regarding gravity, distance, perspective, all sorts of different things fall into place for me when I view the Earth and the Sun and the Moon and the other planets as being spheres, and in our case, rotating around the Sun. And this possibly is not the case for you, but because I am such a newbie with the topic, I'm hoping that those in the chat can maybe come up with some questions to ask you and whatnot.
Well, first off, let me set the stage a little bit straight. Well, I am not a flat earther. I am a stationary earther, because when I look around my mountains here, they're certainly not flat.
No, but
they're not moving.
Yeah.
Then that
but you're meaning, though, if you're looking from, if you were a person, as Ellen White talks about and believes, on other planets, looking at the Earth, it's suspended in space, a disc with undulating mountains on it.
No.
So you believe it is a sphere? No.
Both no.
Okay, before we start, this is going to be interesting. Let's see if we can define science, because a lot of people in the chat, in the promo chat particularly, were talking about science. What would you define science as being, just to have as a little backdrop to the conversation?
It's just something that I can test and I get the same answer, and you can test and we both have the same answer. And you can physically, I'll use this as an example, my drink bottle. It's a bottle of Ningxia Red, okay? I can pick that up. I can put it down. You could quantify that and turn it into some sort of science experiment where you can come along and pick that up and put it down yourself. That's absolutely quantifiable, and no one can argue that you didn't do it and I didn't do it.
Yeah, so it's basically just measuring the world around us.
Yeah.
And observing. I actually just looked up like on what Wikipedia or something said was a basic definition. And it just said science is a systematic way of learning about the world through observation and experimentation and measurement.
Yeah, exactly.
It is both a process of discovery and a body of knowledge that helps us understand how the universe behaves. So I guess when people look at this topic, Earth is a sphere, Earth is the way you're going to explain it, both are claiming scientific analysis, but as in more than just anecdotal. So, for example, I've looked out of an aeroplane at 35,000 feet and I personally detected the horizon curve. I didn't do any scientific experimentation, so that falls into a little bit of an anecdotal kind of example.
Well,
So we've established what we both agree on as kind of a science definition, and you can share what you think is a bit different with our interpretations on
Well,
that as we go. But before we dig in, quickly show me that new guitar that you've got, because we
this
were looking
guy.
at it off air, and I thought I've just got to show everybody this very unique instrument.
And the real guitarists will turn their noses up at it. But I've only just started playing this thing when I was 60. I'll be 66 this year. And you don't start playing a guitar at this age because your fingers have got to get the memory and you just don't have it. So every time I played a normal guitar, when I played a D example, I couldn't get a clear note. I would be buzzing all the time. These are silicon strings. So as soon as you touch it ever so lightly,
it plays without a buzz.
It plays, and you don't have to push very hard, and you don't actually fumble as much.
Yeah.
And you can change it to different.
You can change the keys. You can change the sounds. You can make it like a banjo, piano.
There's a piano.
Yeah.
Piano. You can also get bass guitar, so you can bass it up.
Oh. And this is just coming out of its own speaker as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and
it's not even coming out of an amp
either. Like I'll turn it up loud.
Can you put distortion on and play some heavy metal? Hey, we'll get a copyright if you do that.
Hey?
We'll get a copyright mute.
Whoops.
But what's interesting about that is during lockdown, I was doing, because I couldn't do gigs anymore, I was doing guitar. Oh yeah, the neck comes off.
I'll tell you that. You pull the neck
Great
off.
for traveling.
The only strings are these.
Yeah.
They're the only strings.
Incredible.
The rest is silicon, so yeah.
And during lockdown, I was doing these lessons because I couldn't do gigs anymore. And I remember you reaching out.
Sorry.
There's drums too.
Hang on, I bumped it. Come on, stop.
So, during lockdown, I remember you reaching out about 6 years ago, and I was doing these online lessons every week.
Yeah, and I loved them.
It was so good. In fact, I've kept all of those, and I'm going to be releasing it as a downloadable product for people to buy and learn guitar.
Yeah,
but that's also an example of, common ground. We both love the guitar and
music,
exploring it, and music. Yeah,
love music.
So, one last quick thing before we start. When you came on and I saw that beautiful background, it reminded me of when I interviewed Graham Hood. And his background is was very similar. And you're saying that you live not far from him and you know him.
Yeah, we know him quite well, and known well. We go to his place sometimes for the worship service, and he's a good bloke. And we're both pilots.
Right. Well, I enjoyed my my conversation with him. So you've just come back for like a 90-hour trip from Venice to Australia and driving and whatnot, but you don't seem that tired or exhausted, so that's a good sign.
Back to normal.
You're back to normal.
As usual. I just got to get the stuff sorted up around the property here. We're growing food and veggies, and I've got an excavator, and I've got a tip truck, and I've got building a pool just here, and we've got these major projects on. We're trying to build a tiny house down the bottom, and just projects everywhere, and just full on. Just wake up in the morning and go
and do stuff. Yeah, go and do stuff. Yeah,
do stuff. We got an awesome workshop down there where the mothership lives.
Yeah,
that's the coach that we built a few years ago.
Yeah, I saw photos of that. It's incredible.
Yeah, I can fit 6 of them in my workshop.
It's amazing. Wow. Wow. Well, look, let's get started. And again, welcome everybody that is watching. Please, become keyboard warriors and engage with the conversation. So, look, describe to me what the Earth looks like to you. Let's get that going first, so we can get a visual of what this. Can I call it a flat Earth, or what would you call it?
I don't. I just call it stationary. It just doesn't move, because nobody can actually get in a aircraft as a private person or a rocket and fly up and have a look exactly what's going on. There's been a few people in the past that have gone up in gondolas, and they've actually stated back before, there's definitely a narrative around at the moment, and has been for probably 50, 60 years, that that we are a particular spinning water ball hurtling through space. And there are a few questions that I ask people first up when we start to have this conversation, to see what their belief is and why they believe what they believe. And if they believe it so strongly, then they should know the answers to some of these questions, because those questions are very relevant to the belief. Like, as a Sunday keeper and a Saturday keeper, if you speak to a Sunday keeper, they're going to say Sunday is the true day of rest. You say, well, hang on a minute, is there another option? And they go, well, no, Sunday's tradition, that's the way it is. Yeah. So if they haven't done any research in that area, they're going to have a horrible time trying to understand the other side, unless they pull the wall down about their Sunday belief and have a look at the other side. So then you're looking at both sides of the coin, and you can then give it a proper opinion or an analysis of why you would believe one over another.
Yeah.
Which is what I did in 2015, when a friend of mine said, hey, Alan, have you looked at this subject? And I went, what? And he told me. I went, like everybody else. You've got to be kidding me. This has all been solved thousands of years ago, So I then went, well, if it was all solved thousands of years ago, what's this Flat Earth Society doing on the internet? So I go on to that one, looking at it, and I'm going, this is stupid. This is absolutely ludicrous. The Flat Earth Society seems like it's some sort of shill that makes it look really ridiculous, which is what you said before. It's a flat disk floating in space and all the other planets around. Well, then that none of that made sense to me, because that was just plain straight out ludicrous. So I thought, well, there's got to be something else to this. So then there's a guy called Eric DeBay. He put out 200 clues. I thought, I'll have a look at that. And when you start looking at some of these things, then you start doing your own research on physicality, stuff that you can observe. There's a few red flags there. Like one, okay, for instance, how fast is the Earth spinning at the equator? Do you know, as a globe believer?
I looked at it last night just in studying it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but
yeah. So okay, so now
it's about the half the speed of the hour hand in actual physicality.
Well, you know how we believe that in the future somehow we're going to be taken into courts, and we're going to be asked questions, and we're going to have to come up with answers to keep us out of jail. Well, we as Christians, we sort of have that concept. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But when you're asked of something, you need to have a reason for the hope that is within you to be able to answer that question with some sort of, at least not positiveness, but at least a direction of some sort.
Yeah.
So if you don't know the answer to a few questions, then you've got to scratch your head and go, well, why do I believe this in the first place? Because I don't know anything about the subject. So
Yeah.
the answer to that is 1,040 miles an hour at the equator. And the next question is that I'd ask somebody is, how fast is it moving around the sun? Remember, this is the reason why the person believes it's a spinning ball. So would you know how fast it's spinning around the sun? Now, I'm not putting you on the spot on purpose, but it's just this is a standard question that I ask people, and everyone is the same. Pretty much 99%. They don't know that question. So if you're going to have a little red button in front of you, you've got to go, and go wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and then so that's 67,000 miles an hour. It's traveling around it's actually we're revolving around the sun.
I did know that. I did know that one.
Oh, good. Oh, good. So speak up. That's okay. So I take my finger off that button. So the next one is.
But I hear what you're saying though. There's when people look at different topics, often, like for example, we just looked at the guitar. You know, people. I could say to you, well, do you know how many positions there are of the pentatonic scale? And you might know, but 95% of people won't know. And so a lot of people are involved and immersed in the world of playing music or in the world of believing we're on a sphere. But you're right, most people don't actually look at some of the details and know some of the basic facts.
Yeah.
So if I bring up this picture, is this kind of how you would see?
No, that's a Flat Earth Society
kind of
still.
picture, isn't it? Have you got something you can share of what it looks like to you from this angle?
Well, the map, there's a guy called Al Bruni back in, I don't know, was 800 or something AD. He come up with a couple of maps.
Right.
One of them re-immersed, called the Alex Gleason map, and that immersed in the 1800s. Alex Gleason is the actual United Nations flag currently, the Gleason map.
Right.
Now, who was Alex Gleason? Well, he knew Ellen White.
Really?
He was an Adventist, Sabbath keeper.
Right.
He spoke to Ellen White about this map of the stationary Earth, because when he looked at Genesis and re-looked at Genesis in this way to look at it, when you read Genesis, it actually tells you that there was no universe, no solar system, no nothing on the third day. There was nothing. But then the sun and the moon and the stars were then created the next day. And they were two great lights, one light to rule the day, one to rule the night. Now, a lot of people say, it's just poetry because science is proving something different now. Well, I don't know, because I still old-fashioned. I believe that Bible's pretty much saying it the way it happened. Then he said he stuck the stars in the firmament. And then you go, well, what's the firmament? Then you look at it in every language that exists. The firmament means firmamentos is Latin, firmament is English, stadiomos is Greek, and arakia is in Hebrew. Now, when you look at those words, each one means a solid, impenetrable object. Can't get through it, which is what Genesis is saying. And all ministers will fight this hammer and tong. There's no way that they will even go anywhere near this subject. But I'm just reading it as it is, and I see the earth as it's got pillars, as the Bible says. It's got a covering, like as a tent for us to dwell in. It's impenetrable. The windows of heaven opened during the flood, and the ocean came in. And if you look at The Simpsons, there's a Simpsons episode that shows how Homer hits a home run, and it goes up in the sky, smashes the sky, and the ocean pours into the arena. And then the commentators say, "Oh, Homer's just broken the glass ceiling," and what they say, it's just blown this dream's reality wide open. Red flag.
Little
Why do they
references.
why do they do that? And these things there's thousands of these that have come up since 2015. And as a pilot, when I was learning to fly, which was back in the 80s and early 90s, when I looked out the cockpit window, the same as what you said, I could see this curve. And I marveled at this curve. It was my office, and I'm looking at this curve. Now, from 2015, when I started looking at this another way, I could see that my mind's eye was influenced by a belief. Because then because we've been traveling over, I don't know how many times, I don't know, 10 times, 5, 6 times a year since 2008, going somewhere in the world I've done so many commercial flights, I don't want to do anymore. But you see a lot of horizons, and I've taken photos out the window, and I've put it on a big flat screen TV and then put a straight edge on it, and I'm scratching my head going, well, how did I see a curve? Because I can't see one at 40,000 feet. So how does that, why? How come has my eyes changed? No, it's my brain that changed because I'm seeing something different now. So you can't actually see the curve.
You mean you saw it when
when I'm learning to fly?
You saw it when you're flying looking out, but when you took a photo of it and played it back, it didn't look flat any longer?
No. When I was, as a commercial pilot flying, I used to fly in the middle of Australia for a company, and they didn't have any clouds out there, and you could always see the horizon.
Yeah.
And whatever height you are, the horizon's always there. No matter how high you are, the horizon's always there.
Yeah.
And it was then that I used to see this slight curve.
Yes.
And then years later, when I started to understand the stationary Earth model, I could no longer see that curve when I looked out the window. Because when I took a photo of it and I put it on a big screen and put a straight edge on it, I couldn't see, there was no curve from one side to the other.
It's like an optical illusion.
It was my mind is actually telling me something that's not quite right because I believed it. So it has a lot to do with a belief, and it's not an arguing subject at all. It's just a conversation to say, why are these red flags there? Why can't I get answers to some of these things? And the Bible does talk about it a lot. It explains, I don't know how many texts are in the Bible that actually are saying that the world is stationary. Psalms 93:1, 96:10, Psalms 104, verse 5. God set the earth on foundations. That's what it says. Now, why would he set an earth on a foundation if it's doing 1,040 miles an hour, hurtling through space with a centripetal force holding water onto its surface? You know the difference between centripetal and centrifugal? You know what I'm saying? Centrifugal is when you hold a bucket of water and you spin it around and the water stays in there.
Mm.
Now, centripetal means you turn the bucket upside down and now spin it. The water's just going to fly out. That's the model of the Earth. Science, remember, is something you can produce, and anyone can produce and get the same answer.
Can there be two things going on at one there, though? Like if you're on the back of a truck and you're driving along and you jump up, that movement forward is like the one you're speaking of, but at the same time, there's a gravitational pull down.
Well, that word gravity is the magic answer to all of these mystery questions. Like if you go to a doctor and you've got a disease, what's the magic potion they give you basically most of the time? Antibiotics. That's the magic, antibiotics. Oh, yeah, you take antibiotics for this and antibiotics for that. Everything's antibiotics. Well, in science, if you don't have an answer to something, it's gravity. And they can't define gravity. Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's the astrophysicist, the Mr. Guru of the world. He states that, he says, gravity, what is it? We don't know, he says. I mean, he's a brilliant guy, and I love him, watching him because he's very entertaining. But he's very much on the standard narrative, and he can't explain gravity. So, it is in the same category as antibiotics. Joshua 10, was it 10 verse 13? And Habakkuk said, both the sun and the moon stood still. Now, we know the sun in our model, in the heliocentric model, doesn't move in the sky. It's the Earth that's moving. But in the geocentric, it's the Earth that's stationary. It's the sun and the moon that's moving, which then wouldn't affect anything. So for God to stop the Earth from 1,040 mile an hour down to nothing, okay, you'd say, but God works miracles. He can do that. Yes, he can. But then why can't the other one happen either? They're both theories because we don't know. So why are we so bent on the spinning water ball when you can't prove it in a science experiment, except the word gravity?
You can prove things like if you drop a cannonball and
a feather
and a billiard ball, they land and travel at the same time to the Earth.
In a vacuum.
Well, the feather may not because it's got upward motion pushing it.
Well, in a
around,
vacuum, they both fall
which is
the
an
same
example
way.
of what I was saying with you spinning the bucket and things being pulled down at the same time. If there was a vacuum, you're right. The feather and the cannonball land at the same time on the Earth in every scenario. Well, maybe vacuum's not the right word, but if there's no wind movement or variations placing upward pressure. So there's studies that show consistency with the theory of gravity, but you know, the idea that, like, for example, gravity kind of is a good explanation of why we see water droplets and spheres. It tends to pull things in a momentum in a way that creates spheres. So give us a model of your Earth. Can you just describe just what it looks like if I'm out here with all the angels looking in? What's the Earth look like to you? Is there a picture you can bring up that we can just look at of the stationary Earth?
I'm purposely avoiding that question, as you can tell,
Right?
Because there is no answer to can't give you a definitive answer to that question.
But
because
you can. You're more raising questions instead of providing answers.
Yeah, because I don't have answers.
Well, like here's something one could raise about the Earth being suddenly stopped still in the Bible. When we look at some of the beasts in Daniel Revelation, are there real beasts coming? They're metaphors. Maybe, as a question that you and I can ask, the Earth suddenly stopping still, or Joshua holding the sun, or whatever that story was, that could be a metaphor as well.
So could create the creation week.
That's what I'm saying. If we're only going to raise questions, you and I could, and essentially that's what I'm doing. I'm with you on the idea of let's ask as many questions on any topic and have a discussion about it, and fear nothing in asking just questions.
Well, exactly. There's nothing wrong with asking questions.
But what I guess I'm saying is that in asking those questions, and you've explored that side of the coin more than me, you must have drawn some conclusions that look like some kind of a working model.
Well, look, if you've been into Sydney, in Darling Harbour, and Linda, can you tell Wazza to mow somewhere else at the moment? Because he's going to start. You guys helps out. He stays here occasionally. He's in my mower and he's going to come up and start mowing. We're not going to be able to hear anything.
Say hi, Linda.
Hi, Linda. Hi, Peter. She said. There's what was I saying then before I got interrupted? Anyway, look. If anybody that wants to explore what you can't find on YouTube, there's an app. Dave Weiss put this app out, and it depicts what the closest we can possibly imagine the Earth to be, and it shows you the sun and the moon. Now that's a Gleason map, Alex Gleason's map, and the United Nations flag. That one is.
Right.
Right. Now, Alex, I was talking to Alex Gleason before. When he spoke to Ellen White, he said to her about the Earth being stationary, and I've read this document. You know what she said to him? She didn't shut him down at all. She said, This is not for our time. Leave it alone. That's all she said.
Mm.
So she didn't say, go away, that's stupid, whatever. And when you look at the word planet and the word universe, they're made up words. Planet is planetes, that's where it originated from. And then the Greeks changed it to planet. And what it meant was a moving light in the sky where the other lights were fixed. So you had fixed lights and stationary lights. Sorry, fixed lights and moving lights. And we call the moving lights now planets, which they were called just lights. So we've adopted that word planet, thinking they're now spinning balls of gravitational pull, pulling matter together. And where did that thought originate from? You know, remember it was nothing and it became, everything started moving out in different directions. Who was that? Georges Lemaitre. He was a Catholic. Now, I don't know. I don't really go along with a lot of Catholic beliefs. That's a bit of a red flag to me if some Catholics starting to tell us that the Big Bang theory was fact, because we now take it as fact, because everyone that believes that we're on a spinning water ball has to go back to the Big Bang theory, because that's why we believe it's a spinning water ball and all the other planets are spinning and moving and expanding through space, because it comes from a Catholic priest in 1927. That's just a red flag. I have to question that as a thinking human being. You don't have to be a professor. You don't have to be a theologian. You don't have to be anything. Just a normal person asking a question that's quite a logical question. Why would I believe a theory from a bloke that just come up with it?
Mm.
You know, when the Bible has a very different theory, if you could call it a theory, because again, we've got no proof of either.
Yeah. Well, that's what I guess I'm saying. If you're going to look at, for example, the earth standing still, that time where Joshua with the battle and he held the sun still, if you look at that as a literal event, you've drawn a conclusion from asking many questions that the Bible version of that is accurate. And I'm just simply asking another question, well, what if it's not? Because there's other examples in the Bible that seem metaphorical. What if that is also that? So at some point, there's got to be a foundation that you go, I've drawn a conclusion, this is accurate, and then people are going to start asking you questions. So
and yeah, that's right. So then why do we choose this one categorically over this one categorically?
Well, that's what I'm asking you. Why have you chosen that categorically that version is now your basis for the whole thing?
This thing was my first aha moment. That is a Coolpix Nikon 1000 camera with a ridiculous zoom. And two things with that camera. One, if I'm at the beach and that yacht or that ship disappears over the horizon and you can see the mast disappear first, what that's stating to me is, there's my hand and this pen is disappearing over the horizon. It's now gone because my hand's in the way blocking it. So now, how powerful would the camera have to be, or a telescope, to see through my hand or around my hand to see that pen again? Is there such a thing in science? Yes or no?
Well, if it's a flat Earth.
Yes or no? No, don't look at the flat Earth. Just look at this object. It now disappeared behind my hand. Can you see it somehow with some powerful telescope?
But I'm not sure what you're suggesting there.
Well, first, let me ask you a different question. Can you see my pen?
No, because it's gone down behind the curved horizon of your hand.
Correct. So what sort of telescope would you need to be able to see that again? Is it possible? Yes or no?
I don't see the two as lining up as a question as being a yes or no answer. Like, if your theory is that it's flat,
hang on. Forget
then
the Earth.
Then the ship would just get smaller and smaller. The telescope is just gonna see it getting smaller.
Forget the Earth. This has nothing to do with the Earth, nothing to do with flat, round, circles, triangles, nothing to do with it.
Right.
This is just a simple analogy of a pen and a hand and a telescope. Nothing to do with the Earth, nothing to do with gravity.
But are you saying the further the pen goes from the telescope, if a hand is held between it, the pen disappears below the? You could just be lowering the pen.
Can I answer the question then?
Yeah.
Pen's disappeared, right? I can get my camera, this one, face it this way. Now it's looking at my hand. That's a very powerful telescope, that camera. No amount of powerful telescope could see my pen. I've lost you. Oh, no, you're back.
I'm back.
And what happened?
Hopefully, if that happens again, we're still live. You keep talking, but I'm not here, and I'll have to reboot my Wi-Fi.
Okay, you got a dicky Wi-Fi.
Well, sometimes.
So, okay, there's the camera looking at me. There's the pen going behind my hand. No amount of powerful telescope will ever be able to see that pen.
But that's because you've lowered the pen behind a hand. Like you need to have things. For me to be able to understand it or answer it, I have to know how far the hand is from the camera, how far the pen is behind.
I'll turn it around. There it is. And now I'm just going to do that.
That's just like putting your face behind a tree and saying we can't see your face anymore.
Correct. So is there a telescope that could then see my face behind the tree?
Not unless it curves around somehow.
Yeah, that's right. You'd have to imagine it, which means you're into a pseudoscience now. You're not into a science because you can't prove it. So you can imagine
but I'm just not sure how that example defends
now I'll put it back to
the ship on a horizon.
Okay, now I'll go back to that. When you look at a ship going on the beach, by the way, people see ships disappear over the horizon. So they see this curve at the beach. But then at 40,000 feet, you don't see a curve. So how come you're now imagining a curve at the beach that's disappearing over the horizon, which is 13 nautical miles away, according to the Navy? Okay? I get this camera on a tripod on the beach, and for some strange reason, that ship that's disappeared over the curve now comes back. I can see it fully. Now,
that's because you've reduced the distance between you and the ship.
So then why did it, yes, correct. But then why did it disappear over the curve? Why do we say it went behind the curve? That's the case.
Because it went behind a curve.
But then I shouldn't be able to see it, just like I can't see my pen behind my hand. It's blocked.
You can't because it's gone over a curve. If you include in your analysis that there is a curve, that explains why the pen can't be seen. But if you include your analysis that there is no curve, that then supports your theory. So you still have to come back to, is there a curve or not, before you can ask that question.
Well, in that analogy, it's showing there is no curve because there's no amount of powerful telescopes should be able to see that ship again. Let me have you another.
So if you're flying at 35,000 feet and you can see a ship on the horizon, like you can be that high and see the horizon. It appears to curve, but you're saying that it's an optical illusion. But let's just say at the edge of that, from 35,000 feet, there is a ship big enough to at least see as a dot. If that continues to go, it will eventually disappear. So you're talking about a gradient and a differentiation of distance. So if you're just saying, I'm just saying that the further you go and the more you can see, eventually that ship will disappear over the horizon, no matter how high.
You're now at 40,000 feet. You've changed everything at 40,000 feet. I'm still at the beach.
And but you do have because of the size of the Earth, you do have to get up to those heights to be able to see that there is some kind of curve.
That would change. Yeah, but
visually looks like it's there. You're saying it's an optical illusion, but I'm saying if there's some sort of matter there, it is going to disappear.
Oh, why are you back at 40,000? Leave 40,000 feet out of it at the moment because we're at the beach. Don't go to 40,000 feet because everything changes.
But I'm saying you have to go to 40,000 feet because the Earth is so huge. If you're
Okay.
wanting to observe a curve, you have to step back such a long way to confirm there is a curve. Of course, if I stand on a beach, I'm not going to be able to see that
Yeah,
because
but
it's
why
not
do
big enough.
people will say that they see the curve from the beach? That's again, why? How come when you're at 40,000 feet, you still can't see a curve, but people say you see a curve at the beach?
Well, you
And
can see a boat disappearing over the horizon on the beach.
so where did that boat go?
It went around the curve of the Earth.
So there's a lump then between me and the boat,
Yes.
just like there's a lump between my hand and my pen.
That's like putting a mountain in front of the boat and therefore saying, see, it proves my point. We're trying to remove any obstacle. So you remove your hand and then hold the pen and go back far enough. If you're in a little boat holding up your pen and you keep going and I'm on the beach looking at you, no hand or mountain or building coming between us. You can't include that kind of
So you're
distraction.
so what
Eventually, I'm going to see you in the little boat disappear with your pen over the horizon.
yeah, but what you're saying is there's a lump in the way between me and the boat, but for some reason my camera allows me to see it again. When everyone says that it's disappeared over the horizon, it's gone.
Yeah, but yes, for a time. But if it keeps moving away, it's going to eventually disappear, no matter what telescope you have. It's going to eventually disappear.
Hang on a minute. The boat is stationary at that point because if it's moving at 5 knots, it's not going to go disappear that fast, right?
No, but because of the size of the Earth, and I'm not a specialist at this, I'm just asking questions.
Neither am I.
Asking questions. If you have any image between this and that, A and B, and you're observing, you can only measure or observe if there's curvature if you stay still and it's moving away. If you place something between it, like a house or a hand or, whatever, that's an object that then just confuses the whole conversation. So you remove that again, and what you're saying is, if I zoom in, I can see it again. Well, I'm saying, okay, zoom in, but it's still moving away. Eventually, it will disappear.
Correct.
Yeah.
It will. It
And
will
it'll only
eventually
because
of perspective.
It'll only disappear not in perspective of getting smaller. It'll disappear in appearing to lower behind the horizon, and therefore that confirms that something is definitely bulging between you.
So
which
what's
is
the
curve of the Earth.
science of what you're explaining? What's the science that allows that to actually be a possibility when we use that as the example to say the Earth is curving and the ship has disappeared? We use that as the example. So I should never be able to use a camera or a telescope to see that again because there's a lump in the way between the camera and the boat.
No, because
Why?
but
why isn't there?
Because
There's a lump there.
you're removing that distance.
Well, I'm not removing the distance because it's gone over the
And
lump. 13. Hang on.
You'll
13
see it.
nautical.
You'll see it again a little bit, but you just wait, and it's going to eventually go, and you won't see it. And no matter your telescope, how powerful, you're not going to be able to see it.
Well, that's correct. But then you also got to look at the other side of this conversation. That is, why did it disappear in the first place? Because they're saying it's gone over the curve. So at 13 nautical miles from a standpoint at the beach, that's what they teach in I don't know if you call it Navy school, but when they become skippers, they say it's 13 nautical miles before the curve. Now, I was on a boat on a windsurfer. That's a computer sail ship going to Barcelona. We're out in the Mediterranean. 3 o'clock in the morning, I went up to the bridge and spoke to the captain on duty. There's huge big Doppler radars on both ends of the bridge. And I'm having a chat to him, and I was asking about the radar. And I said, look, does a radar see around corners or anything, or go over curves? And he said, no, it's a straight line Doppler. It sends a signal, sees something, sends it back to us so we know to avoid it, or that we know what it is and where it is, how far away it is. Gives us all that information. Oh, okay, yeah, well, that's fair. So if there's a ship in the way at X amount of miles, you'll see it, you can go and can avoid it, yeah. And I said, well, what's that in the distance? Now, this is a personal opinion from a physical thing that happened to me. So no one can dispute it because I'm not, unless you say I'm lying, well, that's different. But I'm not lying. So anyway, I looked in the distance, the little light, there's a light flashing like that. And I said to him, what's that? And he looked on his radar. Now remember, I didn't say it first time, but he told me 13 nautical miles is the end where the Earth curves. And if the ship's higher, you get a little bit further. And we're at 20 meters above the water. So when you look at this little light, it was a lighthouse in Barcelona on the coast. And you could see the height of the lighthouse, and you could see the light of yourself. So when you look at the Earth calculations of 8 inches per mile squared.
But that what you're saying is not a personal account. That's someone else's account of this.
No, hang on. No, I'm there. I'm looking at the light.
This is one I've read that other people have suggested.
No, but at this subject, I'm physically on the bridge and I'm talking to the captain. Okay, like I said, the only way to disprove what I'm about to say is just to say I'm lying. That's the only way you can disprove this.
I'm not saying you're lying, but someone else has also had that exact experience with the Rock of Gibraltar and the light and being on a ship further out.
And hang on, let me finish and then you can tell me about that experience. So, and I said to him, how far away is it? He looks on the Doppler, he says it's 93 nautical miles. And I said, but you said that the Doppler only sees straight. And at that distance, at 100 miles, that should be 6,660 feet below the horizon. It's a funny number, 666, but that's what it is at 8 inches per mile squared. It should be 6,660 feet below the horizon. And if you take the calculations at 20 meters above and how high that lighthouse was, it doesn't come anywhere near 6,000 feet. So that should be occluded by at least 4,000 feet at the most. So the Doppler should not be able to see that. And I asked him that. He didn't have an answer for me. And again, to me, that is just a red flag. And no one can dispute that. So tell me what your experience?
No, I'm just saying someone else has shared that experience online using the Rock of Gibraltar, Spain. So it must be a similar event that people experience out there.
People like to experience, yeah. So
back to your telescope. The telescope is only enlarging your field of vision, so it appears that you can see it again. But all you're doing is zooming in so you can see it. But eventually, as that ship continues to go away, even with your telescope, it's going to disappear. So all I'm saying is that we both sit here and we see these red flags and we ask questions, and I'm enjoying learning all of this stuff. And as I said earlier, I need to research this. I've researched, excuse me, I could write a PhD on the pentatonic scale, major and minor. I've researched the heck out of it. There's very few people on the planet that could query me and I wouldn't be able to have an answer. But in this one, I'm learning. So I'm applying my mind, my inquiring mind to this. And so when I look at these red flags and when I look at potential answers, isn't a curved Earth and a sphere and gravity a viable solution that can work?
Of course it is. But then so is the Bible's account. They're both viable. But why are we so married to one and we just laugh at the other one?
I'm not married to the Bible version of it. So why are you married to the Bible version?
Because I take the Bible as it's pretty accurate. It's pretty good. I mean, it's done good in the past with the prophecies of what they said did happen, and I believe it's going to happen again. So, yeah, of course, I have that as my guide more than I do man, because as we know, over the last few years, science and medicine has been proved to be a bit of an ass. And pseudoscience and the moon landings and there's so many things that now look at Artemis 2. Like there's so many red flags that have come back from that. It's laughable what they've been doing. What's
interesting about that is that people have used AI imagery to just confuse it.
Oh, totally. And what AI can't confuse is that thing's doing 25,000 miles an hour hurtling to Earth. Somehow it deploys some parachutes and the parachutes don't get torn apart before it hits the Earth, before it hits the water.
See,
slowed it down.
I would look at some of the things you've suggested as red flags. And if I was a scientist and was able to present more demonstrably some of the
Well,
science proving the sphere, you were saying there's red flags. So you're suggesting that I've got a non-falsifiable belief, but I can equally say you've got a non-falsifiable
of
belief.
course you can.
The
But
only
I
difference,
was you.
the only difference is you're feeling quite confident in your non-falsifiable belief. I was interviewing someone the other day, and they said the reason they are a Seventh-day Adventist is because it is a set of beliefs that are non-falsifiable. And I thought, so because you because you can't prove it, that's what you're going to believe. Well, you could apply that to Odin, Thor, anything that's non-falsifiable. You could say, well, I believe that now. I believe Joseph Smith. It's because it's non-falsifiable. And I just feel like sometimes people that might believe in the flat Earth are needing to
Stationary Earth.
stationary Earth and needing to claim certain points as not being non-falsifiable. But at every point, anything that you say is non-falsifiable. Whereas some of the things with gravity and things seem to be able to be replicated.
Like what?
Well, if a droplet of water, again, just thinking off the top of my head, if I drop water and you can have a slow-mo image, it turns into a sphere. If there was no gravity, it wouldn't turn into a sphere, and it might go up or down or sideways if there was no wind affecting it. So there's just things like that that make me go, the not flat Earth, what do you call it again? The stationary Earth would imply that wouldn't happen.
Why? It could happen still, either way.
But it forms into a sphere, though. So why can't the Earth have formed into a sphere?
Do that on a ball of water and make it somehow turn into a ball that's a meter round. You can't. You can't. That's pseudoscience. You can't actually prove that at all.
But we can observe that a falling piece of falling drop of water turns into a sphere.
Make it turn into a meter big sphere.
But that means you have to add more mass to it. So you have to bring something out of nothing. I'm just saying that if it was a stationary Earth with no gravity, water falling shouldn't form a sphere. And so I'm just saying, if there is gravity, you can speculate that it would form a sphere.
Well, you can't. Again, that's speculation because you can't prove it.
No, but you can observe it happening every time.
Yeah, but you said if the Earth was a stationary plane, yeah, that wouldn't happen. But you can't prove that at all. You can't prove either way. Again, that's like a religion itself.
No, but if it is a faith thing. But if the Earth is a sphere and it has gravity and water falls, it will always form a sphere. Whereas if you've got a stationary Earth, you can't prove if it's going to be a sphere or not a sphere.
Well, no, you can't, because we don't know what you're saying. There's no proof of fact of gravity for a start, and there's still no proof that we're on a spinning water ball. Again, that's a religion. We have to just believe one or the other, because there's no proof of it. Or where did your belief come from that we're on a spinning ball? Where does that originate? Why do you believe that? Just give me one or two reasons.
Well, I guess I believe in people's observable experiments or measurements. And so I believe that when someone did go to the moon, I believe it actually did happen. And so they've observed the Earth as a sphere. I look at things like if I go to one of the poles, I can't remember which one, there's 24 hours of sun. So that indicates it's a sphere. I'm just saying there's lots of indications.
You're talking about Jaron from Jaronism, aren't you?
Yes.
Yes.
I think so. I'm not sure. Was he the guy that invited people to come? Flat Earthers, stationary Earthers to come.
He's making a mozza out of that.
But hasn't he taken people there? Is it north or south?
I've got friends that have been there as well.
Is it north or south?
South.
So
again, there's no question about what goes on the North Pole. No question at all. The only question is the South.
So
There's always questions
if you
on
go to
South.
the South Pole,
Well,
are
again,
you saying that there's not 24 hours of sunlight?
I'm saying, no, I'm not saying that either, because I have a friend who actually went to the South Pole, and she took a photo and observed two suns in the sky, and none of them were the sun. So what Jaron actually was a huge, he did videos on this, on what he called the flat earth. He's done it for like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. And he had a big channel and a big following. He goes down there and he finds the opposite, and instantly all of his other proofs that he's had are disappeared, and he's now saying it's now spinning water ball, and now he's putting out videos about that. He's picking up money from before, and he's picking up on Mozart now. So I don't even want to use Jaron as an example, because I've actually got questions about what his actual personality, what he's doing.
So the reason the South and the North are different are because of the tilt of the Earth. Again, I'm literally just riffing here from a brain that doesn't know this stuff as deeply as I should. But I tell you what, today's conversation, I'm going to go away and really research as much as I can. You've sparked my mind.
You won't find any information online about the truth. You'll only get the narrative. You have to get this app to get the truth. That's because everything's hidden.
But if you say, but because of the tilt, to me that suddenly goes, oh, that makes sense why the North Pole is different to the South Pole, and the South Pole, then if it's a sphere, it's quite reasonable that the sun wouldn't set for 24 hours. Like, are you saying that is wrong, that the sun does somehow set at the South Pole?
When you get a prism and you put a prism down on a round prism, like a dome, flat bottom, put it on a surface, you get a light, and you go like this around that prism, you get what appears like a sun and a moon, and in certain positions you see two suns and the moon as you're going around. I can't demonstrate it because I don't have it, but you can do it, your own experiment. So if this world is a firmament over the stationary plane with the pillars, four corners, if as the Bible says, then if you're, what was I saying? If you then have an external light, I'm only, look, because there's no proof of any of this, you've only got to work out how it's even possible to have two suns in the south, which then appears like you've got a 24-hour sun. Because when you shine a light on top of a prism, the light can be over there, and it can also be over there at the same time. And this is what my friend observed.
So where is the prism coming from?
Well, the atmosphere, what's inside here is water, and what's outside is physical ocean. So you've got a lot of density and atmosphere. The water, as all this air out here is got water in it, right? So if there's some sort of covering that covers the earth, as the Bible says blatantly, and inside is this mist of our air, then the air has water in it. It can act like a prism. So
wouldn't that be able to do that on the North Pole too?
Not the same, because if the light's in the center and it's doing this, you've still got the light in the center, and those movements go around. So the sun, so they say the sun's 93 million miles away, but when you look at the corpuscular rays, they come down like that, and it shows you the sun's not that far away. So again, that's another theory that we just take on as being some sort of fact, that it takes X amount of 8 minutes, 9 minutes for the sun's rays to get to here. They can't prove that. That's just science, pseudoscience. There's no proof of it. But algebra can prove the corpuscular rays quite easily. It says that the sun's a lot closer than what they're saying it is, just by algebra.
But if the sun is coming through a prism, you're using actual curvature to prove your non-curving Earth.
No, not at all. Not at all. Have you heard of the Georgia Guidestones?
No.
In Elberton, Georgia? They were a set of 6 or 8 stones. They were granite. They were 3 stories high, and they were oblong, just standing up, with 8 those stones had 8 languages of the commandments of the New World Order, written like chiseled into them. And at the top of that stones, there was a hole in the stone which looked up at Polaris. Now, those stones were placed there by Mr. Christian back in 1980 from Rothschild's money. That's what funded them. Now, for the last however many years that they were up, 40 odd years or 50 years, that Polaris has always remained in the center of that point where the firmament rotates. Okay? They say the world rotates, but the other theory is that the sky is rotating with the stars, and then those, what they call the other roving lights, which is what we call planets, are in that system that rotates, gives us the 13 months of the year. So, oh man, there's so many, got so many directions going on in my brain at the moment. Having trouble keeping focused. So that Polaris should be, when they do the calculations of the Earth and the solar system and the Milky Way and everything, and you won't know this answer because no one does, not many people do, is moving and expanding at 2.1 million miles an hour through the empty vacuum of space. Now, when they calculate the distance out of focus that Polaris is from that rock in 40 years, they came to a 0.004% out of focus. That's what it has to be because of the movement of everything, because of the Big Bang. And what happened when they looked at it, there was no out of focus at all in that period of time. And it was what they were showing was the Earth's not moving because that Polaris is still exactly the same position called the North Star. Meaning what they were showing was that the firmament rotates around that North Star and has done for eternity, as long as we can remember, making the Earth geocentric and the center of all creation. So what happened then, people from all over the world were going there photographing this, and everything was going out on social media, and blow me down, it got destroyed. It was completely blown up. No inquiry, no nothing. It took a few days. The excavators went in, leveled the place, took all the rocks away, and that's it. Finished, all said and done. Now, red flag. All I can say is, why did it get destroyed? And we know then that there was no out of focus with that Polaris, proving that there was no movement, like Michelson and Morley proved that back in the 1800s through using light through mirrors to see an interference pattern in the beams. They couldn't find one. So that sort of was proving that the Earth was stationary. But if you look at Wikipedia, it'll give you another story and say that Einstein changed all of that and said that what they did wasn't quite kosher, with a bit of chalk on a board, where they had a physical experiment proving the Earth was stationary. Airy's failure was another one, proving the Earth was stationary. These aren't taught at uni or at any sort of schools. No one's ever heard of these people. Now, when we were in Hawaii on the Big Island, we went up to the observatory at 13,000 feet, the highest observatory in the world. And then we had trouble breathing up there, but we came down to 8,000 foot where the office observatory was, and the telescopes and all the beautiful pictures, the nebulas around the wall. We went there, I think we went there 3 times. I was fascinated. Anyway, we're outside one night looking down the telescope and looking up. We saw Jupiter, we saw Saturn, and we're looking at Venus at one point. The second time we went and saw Venus going past. Anyway, saw Venus. And I said to the guy, when I look at his pictures of Saturn, in their big, powerful cameras, telescopes, it was that big. And I look at it here with this, okay, and I see it, watch my fingers, that big. See the difference from that to that? There was really hardly any difference. No more clarity, it's just a light. And I said to the guy, when I look in your camera, I don't see anything more than what I see with my camera while I look for your powerful telescopes. Where do you get these incredible, beautiful pictures of the nebulas and the galaxies and Orion and all the close-up pictures of planets, which they can't even do the Earth, right? I said, where do these pictures come from? He said, well, they're not pictures, they're artists' impressions. Red flag, artists' impressions. What? So he says, yeah, it's what we believe we see. Okay. So then who authorizes these pictures in observatories? Then I find out there's public observatories and there's private observatories. Private observatories can't publish anything. A public one can, because they're all connected all over the world. So if the information that comes out of one gets spread to all of them. So you can't change the information because they're all the same. And that information goes to textbooks at unis for training and teaching purposes. So then I find out, I've tried to do some checking. I said, who authorizes these pictures to be so-called true? Do I give you a guess of who authorizes these pictures from these private public observatories? Well, a bit deeper than that, the Vatican. Wow. Now, what's the Vatican got to do with all these public observatories? And they're artist impressions. So all these pictures we see in the books, they're not real. Red flag. Can you see why I ask questions?
I love asking questions like that. I remember when I was first told that, and I thought, I thought this was somehow the Hubble telescope, but a lot of it is just the way they anticipate gas flow and other measurements, and you're right, they fabricate an image of this.
Well, the Hubble is actually in Sophia. It's a 747. It's been flying since the 80s.
That makes me want to ask questions, but it doesn't make me extrapolate the Vatican. With these other stars, the sun, the moon, are they also stationary?
The Bible says that they are in the firmament. I believe the Bible. Call me crazy, but I believe the Bible. That says you've just got to read Genesis. Anyone listening, just go and read Genesis again and try and...
The guys who wrote that, though, had no telescopes back in those days.
Correct. So, correct. But then... Yeah, okay. Well, that goes into another subject.
So just back to the sun and the moon, are they also stationary?
No, they are moving. You saw this app. You can see the sun and the moon.
So the Earth is... So I'm just finding out what you believe. So the Earth is stationary, but the sun and the moon aren't. Yeah, I've got that one.
So the stars are there as well. And you can push a button and you can see the stars, and they give you the 13 months of the year.
So basically, the stationary Earth is the center of the universe.
Well, again, the word universe is uni, meaning one, and a verse is a song. It's one. The universe actually means one song, not an infinite vacuum of space.
I'm just asking, so the Earth is the center of the rotation of the stars, the galaxies, that sort of thing.
According to the Bible, yeah.
So is the moon a sphere, or is it?
We don't know. You can't. You can't state it. That's more of a plasma, because God said they were lights in the sky. That's all we know. You can imagine and conjure up other ideas with science.
So when we look at the moon at night, and we can see it pretty clearly.
Oh, it looks like shadows and everything on it.
It seems to change size as it crosses firmament, which is a sphere, but the Earth isn't. Is that what you're saying?
It's got a lot of water in the atmosphere. So when the moon's down low, sun does it too. Well, it's this big, and then as it's coming up further and closer, it gets smaller and smaller.
So there is curvature, but not the actual Earth. So why, when I look at the moon in this part of the world, it looks different to those who are looking at it in the USA, for example?
Because I've done the same thing. I see it. I see the faces at different angles because I'm looking at it from different points. That's not a mystery, that one.
But they're not just different angle. They're the exact opposite side, which could indicate that we are on a sphere. Could be. Yeah,
it could be if you want to imagine that, but I don't imagine that. I imagine that we're looking at it like you're laying on the floor of your lounge room, and you've put a ball up in the ceiling with a dot on it, and then you go to that side and look up. You're going to see the dot in a different position.
Why can't I see the North Star down here?
From us? Because you've got a lot of... Same reason why you can't see the end of a pool in a very, very clear pool. You can't see the end of the pool because there's density in the water. There's
so people that are at the other end of the pool see it because it's closer to them.
Yeah, yeah. And then the Bible says that when the Lord returns, every eye will see him, and he's going to come through the north somehow. So somehow you'll clear the atmosphere, the water will go out of it, and maybe we'll see the North Star then. I don't know. I don't have answers to these things. I've just got questions, and no one
It
can
just
say
seems though that you've got questions, but you've got some pretty solid conclusions that you've drawn.
I've come to conclusions because we've only touched 1% of all of my reasons why I'm at this point in life. We don't have time to discuss all of my reasons, and a lot of people are very, very married to this, what I call, I see this globe as some sort of occultic symbol because it's in every single Hollywood movie. You can almost see there's always a globe there somewhere, and people can't fly north and south like that, but you can fly this way. You can't go that way. No one's ever proved that they could do that. Captain Cook somehow sailed 65,000 miles around the Antarctica, and it's only 8,000 miles around. So was he a silly sailor? So why did he go so far? Could he have been traveling around that perimeter? Not the way we see it. I question, okay? There's nothing wrong with the question to ask why he went so far when Antarctica is only supposedly 8,000 miles around. And when you look at photography, let me just show you something here. I put something down here. I read it, and people can verify this because you can go and see this quite easily online. There was a guy called Garrison. He took a photo. The record photo taken from Giresun, Turkey, holds the Guinness Book of Records for the longest line of sight photographed at about 306 miles. The photographer Richard Jezik climbed to the summit of Karagol Dağ, which is a mountain in Turkey, Giresun province. It's 10,190 feet tall. The mountain he photographed was Mount Elbrus, the highest peak in Europe, standing at 18,510 feet, 3.5 miles. Okay, the distance. Now, if you drew a straight line from his vantage point to that mountain, the distance back to the Earth is 62,000 feet. How high is the mountain? 18,000 feet. That's 11.5 miles, 18 kilometers below the horizon that he took the photo of. 8 miles. So if you deducted the height of the mountain and added it to the total, you're looking at 8 miles of curvature that it's gone below the horizon that he still photographed that mountain range. 42,000 feet. 12.
How high was he up off the sea level?
He was at 10,190 feet. This is all verifiable. If someone wanted to write down figures and check it, it's all verifiable.
Couldn't you just say the Earth's big and therefore the curvature is slow to?
Well, it would have to be
aware of.
Yes, it could be it'd have to be like 50 times bigger than what they're saying.
I mean, talking about the maths of distance, and you're talking about Captain Cook going around. So so you're saying that this picture wouldn't? I mean, it's got a pillars underneath. It's got the
God says it's
the south. It's got the south going around. You're saying that isn't equivalent to what a stationary Earth would look like?
It's like that shows our landmass, yes, but where it's situated, no, because that's just an artist's impression. That's just Guga. Who knows?
We can only do an artist's impression if you're not believing that the moon landing was real.
Well, I look at our Earth situation as another room in God's mansion. That's the way I see it. It's just a room in God's mansion.
But in your mind's eye, does it look something like this?
Not floating in space, no.
Have you got any kind of physical representation?
No.
Graphic? Can you describe it to me? What does it look like?
All I can show you is the Glacier map, which is that. That's it.
But that looks similar to this.
Yeah,
that
but that's
map.
floating in space as a flat disk.
So are you saying that this stationary Earth isn't floating in space?
Well, we don't know if there is space. Again, that's we're just imagining it, and we're believing NASA, we're believing Hollywood, because we can't prove it.
Well, if we look at Captain Cook going around, if you fly, for example, from Sydney to San Diego, it's about
Yeah.
12 to 14 hours. But if
Yeah.
it's a stationary Earth that's flat, like Cook's going around like your app, that would take about 30 hours to get to. But we
Okay.
physically can fly from Sydney to San Diego in 12 to 14.
Well,
Isn't that a bit of a red flag with what you're claiming?
Well, let me change that to Joburg, because I actually did that. Okay? Because Joburg's on the opposite side, similar. Now, from Perth, now I spoke to our travel agent about this too, and he just scratched his head. He had no answer. He's been a travel agent for 40 years. I said, from Perth to Joburg's 12 hours. From Sydney to Joburg's 12 hours. Now, I did that flight, by the way. And I said to him, well, it's 4 hours across Australia. Why 14 and 12? That's only 2. Where's the other 2 hours? Well, he didn't know. But when you look on the Gleason map, which is the United Nations flag, you can see why the difference in time.
Well, it'd
Because
be more than just 2 hours, though. If it's comparable to the opposite direction, why doesn't it take you 30 hours to get to Joburg?
Well, that's, again, I still got lots of questions, but I took a compass with me on that trip, and I took my phone, which has a compass. And when we left Sydney, we went south. We should have gone west, but we didn't. We went northwest, that way, all the way. And I said to the steward and the hostess, I spoke to both of them in separate times. I said, on the back of the seat, it's showing me I'm doing this. And on my compass, it's showing me I'm doing this. She put her hands on her hips and she blew me up. She said, what do you think? The pilot doesn't know where he's going? No, hang on.
But it is northwest to Johannesburg, though.
From Sydney, you could basically due west on a globe.
Slightly north.
A little bit, but not fully north. Because we
and by the way,
they blackened out the windows, so you can't that flight you can't see out the window. They took control of the windows. We couldn't see it. Again, that was another red flag. I'm thinking, I want to look out the window, see where we're going. I couldn't. So anyway, look, again, that gave me another moment of thinking, why? When she then the hostess, the bloke come along, the hostie come, what's he called, the steward, whatever he is, came along, and he said, no, well, what you're looking on the back of that seat is actually a recording. It's not the actual way we're going. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So those maps are not real. When you go east-west across the south area, there is some discrepancies. When you go north-south, there's no discrepancies anywhere around the world. There's never a discrepancy north-south. But there is when you go east-west. Not in the north, only in the southern regions.
A lot of those flights now have a camera actually streaming from the back tail.
Yeah.
They don't cover that up.
No, well, I haven't been in one recently to see that camera. So I can't.
So there's more research you could do before you.
Well, I'd have
totally
to jump on a plane and go back to. I'd have to go back to Joburg again.
But what about the distance? Like on a flat stationary Earth, it should take about 30 hours, not 12 to 14. How do you answer that one? I can see what you're saying with your degrees of of the compass, but I don't understand why it would be, when you took that flight, it was still 12 to 14 hours.
I'd have to do some checking out on that too. I can't answer it. I can only answer what I actually have got in the front of my brain.
That's a pretty big one. That's a big one to research, because if it's 30 hours on a flat Earth, why can we actually do it in 12 to 14?
Don't know.
So many questions that
There's
I will
so
be
many-
looking forward to researching.
There's so many
Um,
questions. Well, you
yeah.
won't, like I said, you won't be able to research on YouTube because they only bring up the narrative. You have to get Dave Weiss, the Flat Earth app, to get the YouTube clips of the science that's been done outside the narrative. Because if you're going to look at the narrative, you're never going to cross over. Because no one wants you to see the other side. That sounds like a conspiracy, doesn't it? But it's not a conspiracy. It's just, for some reason, that's the way it is.
If we just quickly Google David Weiss and his Flat Earth app, there's a few questions raised.
Oh man, he
about
gets
him.
ripped to pieces. Like, you don't want to have this belief if you want to lose. I mean, if you want to keep friends, you don't have this belief.
So you're saying the recent flight around the moon was fake?
Absolutely, absolutely,
And
totally. Full
and-
stop. Full stop.
and what about images we see from weather balloons that go up, to the edge
Well-
of space that seem
hang
to
on.
reveal
Hang
in
on.
their photos massive curvature of the Earth?
That's because you can do that with a fisheye lens very easy, and plenty of people have debunked that. It depends if you use a fisheye or a normal lens. You can, look at
But
Von
that's
Gardner.
like you saying the 24-hour sun, you have to use a lens. You have to use a prism to make it work. That's similar to a fisheye.
Yeah. Because when you look through the atmosphere, it does look like a fisheye.
Stationary Earth people be using the same kind of science, pseudoscience of using a prism falsely, just like someone using a fisheye falsely?
Well, no, because
Aren't both sides aren't both
no.
sides able to
No, because if you do believe
falsify their evidence?
But if you do believe that the Earth is covered by a firmament, then it does look like that prism. So yes, it's not falsifying it because you do believe that. All right, I would believe that.
I'm just saying people can use technology to create creative answers.
Yes, but look at AI.
Yeah.
Anything you can be fooled so easily now with anything. But just answer that one question about something hurtling to Earth at 25,000 miles an hour. What slowed that thing down? Tell me, what slowed it down?
So talking about
You're missing the question.
sorry, say it again.
What slowed the cupola down that's hurtling to Earth at 25,000 miles an hour? It didn't automatically slow down when it hit our atmosphere. It didn't slow down to, say, 100 knots or even 200 knots when you could deploy a parachute without it tearing it off that object. How did it slow down?
Oh, you're talking about the recent rocket coming back from the Earth.
Artemis, yeah.
Right.
How did it slow down to not rip the as little umbrellas off, parachutes off? Again, that's just a simple physics question that doesn't compute. Doesn't make sense, that one.
Well, things slow down when they, like planes landing, and they slow
But this
down.
but this is a lump of steel, like a bowling ball, coming to Earth. What slowed it down to deploy parachutes?
Well, just coming in from outer space into the curved sphere, like we see the image of the Earth and the sun changing size, indicates there's some kind of density that it's entering. So it's coming from a place of no density to a place of density, and the density of the air slows it down.
25,000 miles an hour down to 200 knots. Tell me how that's possible.
Well, over 40,000 feet. How high is it from
Have you
the
ever
Earth?
known?
How high is it from the Earth to the edge of the stratosphere? Is it 10 kilometers or something like that?
No,
That's a fair amount of time to give it
more
to slow
than
down.
that. But have you ever known anything to slow down as it's hurtling to Earth? Name me one thing that slows down as it's hurtling to Earth.
Well, human bodies, they only reach a certain amount of
Certain
speed.
speed,
Yeah.
terminal velocity.
Yeah. So once
So-
it reaches terminal velocity, then they can open up the chutes.
So what is terminal velocity of a bowling ball?
Well, it's the terminal velocity is
Let's have a look.
made manifest by gravity.
We'll ask. Hang on. At 100,000 feet, what's the terminal velocity of a bowling ball hurtling to Earth? And what speed would it be travelling?
That's a pretty high drop. Because the atmosphere is so much thinner at 100,000 feet, the terminal velocity would be much higher than on the ground, probably somewhere in the range of 600 to 700 miles per hour. As for the speed it'd actually be travelling, it depends on how far it's fallen and how long it's been falling. But after a drop like that, it would be moving really fast, possibly even quite close to that terminal velocity. Is there a particular bowling ball weight you're thinking of?
If you had a remote control and could deploy a parachute from that bowling ball, is that possible at that speed? On what would slow it down enough to deploy a parachute?
Deploying a parachute at those speeds and altitudes is tricky. The force of opening would likely tear the parachute apart or cause dangerous sudden slowing. Some specialized parachutes, like the supersonic ones used on Mars, are designed for higher speeds, but generally you need to slow down first. Gravity pulls the ball down, but air resistance, or drag, pushes up. The way to slow it down is to fall through lower, denser atmosphere, which naturally increases the drag and lowers the speed. You could also try using a smaller pilot chute to start accelerating.
I've got an easy answer for you. So
What's
the question you're asking AI,
Yeah.
which shouldn't we be cautious of? But it's very easy to answer. As a bowling ball, you're suggesting is coming straight in and straight down. Artemis used what they call a skip method, where it comes in on an angle and slowly. So it gave it even more time than just from the entering of the atmosphere to the Earth. It came as a skip method, slowly came around, giving it ages and ages. Then it deployed about 11 of these special chutes that your AI just told us that gave it a much higher level of drag. And so it slowed down and it eventually landed.
Okay, well we could go with your theory, but I don't think that's. I think that's again. It's just.
Well,
I know you couldn't convince.
All it observes is that your claim was that it's coming straight down, and I'm just saying, well, there's other alternatives.
Well,
yours raised the red flag, and I went, hang on a second, it's not coming straight down. It did a skip method and went like that.
When you see the videos that they showed, it is coming straight down.
Well, in the last where it's become into sight, at some point it stopped the cyclic motion and started coming straight down because of gravity.
Well, people can believe that there's
like
some
a
way of slowing.
A bird flaps its wings and rises.
Yes.
If it doesn't, it will not just fall straight. It will fall at the speed it has been moving. Like, for example, if I jump up and down on the back of a truck, I don't jump up and the truck disappears and I land on the ground. I'm moving with the truck. So I go up and down. Yes, so I go up and down, but I'm moving forward. So it had its own inertia as it was coming down. And eventually, as it stopped its inertial movement, I've made up a word, it then started descending straight down and landed safely. I'm just saying that's a good explanation of using a sphere to make something land safely.
Okay.
Now, if you're believing stationary Earth, then you would assume it's going to crash and burn. So it's just another example that the sphere theory works. Wouldn't you agree that I came up with a good answer to yours?
That sounds like a pretty good answer, but I don't agree with it. But that's a pretty good answer.
So
I mean, you can have your opinion as well. That's great. That's what we're here for. We all have an opinion.
I know, and it's good that we can share them. So when we're talking about sharing people's opinions, let's jump from that topic to Ellen G. White. And Ellen didn't just share opinions. She believed God told her certain things. And she said that one day the Sunday law is going to come in from all these guys at the Vatican, and that Adventists are going to be a special people that have to keep the Sabbath. And you and I have chatted, what does keep mean? I don't want to get into the keeping part of it, but she's indicating that there's a time period of 7 days, and that the seventh day needs to be worshipped in such a way and to such a degree that successfully doing so will get you into heaven. So she claims God told her that. So now, if I view the earth as a sphere, I can see that around the equator, we've got this 7-day kind of thing. There's blips when we look at the dog leg of the international dateline, but essentially we've got a line of sunset, horizon, the sun, the earth's turning, there's a shadow. As long as we don't go too far north or south, we can see a 7-day cycle. And this is what she was referring to. Keep that 7-day cycle. She didn't say to the Norwegians that they should move closer to the equator because, there's certain times of the year where the sun doesn't set at all for 4 months. I'm not sure how your theory
That works. That works perfectly.
With the
Works
prism.
perfectly. Yeah.
So, but where I'm going with this is, if this 7-day cycle of a Sabbath is so verifiable with your model, what does that look like? Is the sun, we don't know if it's flat or spherical, it's some kind of matter, but it's causing light on this stationary flat earth. Is it disappearing underneath, then coming back around over the top and causing day and night, which is causing the 7 days? Just unpack that for me.
You've really got to do some research, because
No. I'm asking. I'm not claiming. I'm asking what you believe.
But because of that belief, I can tell that you're a babe in understanding this other possibility.
I've admitted that.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's in that same boat, by the way, that never looks at this subject. Can you see the sun there?
Yeah.
See the darkness?
Yeah.
As the sun rotates, at the moment, see how the sun is over Australia at the moment?
Yeah.
Now, I'm looking at that sun at the moment. Yes, I can tell it's exactly in that same position. As winter comes on, see that other line closer, the other equinox? See it's a little bit near it, and there's another one a bit further away from it. When that sun gets to that furthest line, that'll be summer here. It's right over the top of us. And when it gets to that smaller circle, then that's winter, but summer for the north. So the sun is a corkscrew motion. It comes in and it goes out as it goes around. Now, your time period of the sun is actually called solar time, but then the rotation of the firmament is called sidereal time. Sidereal time is not 24 hours, it's 23 hours, 56 minutes and 4 seconds. Now, we have a leap year, so somehow that time's got to be made up. And it's made up because of the rotation of the firmament, not the rotation of the sun. So
I'm not challenging or even asking you to explain your beliefs. I just want you to tell me what your belief is. I'm not saying that is right or wrong. I'm just saying that as a human on the earth keeping the Sabbath, I understand how it works with my understanding of the earth as a sphere.
Yeah.
But how does it work for you just sitting where you are right now? The sun, in whether it's corkscrewing, going behind, under, around, in whatever way it's going, it's creating a 7-day cycle where you live.
Yeah.
And are you saying that you keep the Sabbath? You can put that down. We've got a good image of that. You're saying that Ellen White suggested that you need to keep that day as the sun corkscrews or spirals or goes underneath or over the stationary earth. You're saying that for whatever way it happens, you have to keep the Sabbath in a certain way on that day to have salvation. Is that correct?
No. salvation is purely a respect thing. And I respect that seventh day because my Yeshua, my creator, made this place that he gave us in 23 hours, 56 minutes and 4 second days. And I keep that as a memorial to say thank you. That's it. Now, I purposely don't, I don't want to work ever anyway. So Sabbath's a great time not to work. And I don't have to mow the lawns. I don't have to be up on a gantry. I don't have to be digging holes with my digger. I don't have to be up the mountain fixing dams. I don't have to be using the chainsaw cutting trees down. I like to have the Friday night when the sun goes away from me and I know that it's now dark, that it's a time to make a demarcation between this day and that day as a special time period out of respect. That's it.
So
I don't have to go to church.
you've jettisoned Ellen White's Sunday law visions.
I go along totally with there's going to come a time because Rome's openly states that their mark of authority is Sunday. They openly state it in
So at
right
that time,
in your
at
face.
that time, keeping the Sabbath will be more than just a rest day of you honoring creation and not having to mow the lawn. At that time, you're going to have to actually, drill down a bit and keep the Sabbath more accurately.
No, why accurately?
Well, the Sunday law will come in. The Sunday law will come in, and you'll have to not keep it. They'll throw you in jail if you don't give up the Sabbath.
In a city situation, I'm sure, but in a country property, I think we'll have a bit more time. I don't think everyone's going to be thrown in jail. That's why we moved from suburbia to acreage here, 56 acres of paradise, because I think we'll have just a little bit more time. Again, it's only a theory, and if I'm wrong, I can end the judgment. I can at least say to God, I believed that's what you wanted me to do.
Well, Ellen White says it's a test, so that's something you can pass or fail whether you run away into the acreage or not.
I don't like the word test because that's very definite.
Well, that's what Ellen White literally says.
Okay, well, good on her. Test seems it's like a husband and wife. You don't do anything as a test of your loyalty to a husband or a wife. Your test of loyalty just comes straight down to love, and not a test because you do it because you want to do it. There's nothing forced, because that sounds like what you're expressing. What she said, it's a forced thing. You have to do it, otherwise you're going to be damned.
Well, that's what she says.
Well, that's okay. Let her say that.
But she also says that God told her that is accurate. Are you saying she's wrong?
No, I'm saying I don't know.
So there's some red flags that you're going to spend some time researching.
I don't know if I will.
Could it be that you were raised Adventist and therefore just believe it because that's what you were told, and now you're questioning human, and so you're maybe going to question that as well?
Well, I feel very blessed that I was brought up with that understanding, and at my age, I'm happy with that belief, even though other people have different beliefs and they got different beliefs. And I'm quite happy in my understanding of this. It's like I wasn't happy with my understanding of some of the science of our earth. And I wasn't happy with the understanding of medicine, which is why we went into essential oils and the chemistry and the science. Well, I've spent the last 26 years traveling around the world to farms and distilleries learning about the science of distillation, because that's opposite to the narrative of medicine.
Have you questioned Ellen White as much as you have questioned the sphere Earth?
No, I haven't.
But
I've read Great Controversy.
Isn't her plan of salvation so important that it actually has the time path to take?
Well, it obviously is to you, because you're asking me a lot of questions where about that.
no,
I have not been that focused on that
no,
side of the
it's
coin.
it's like you raise a good point to me. Why haven't you researched the stationary Earth as much as you could have?
Yeah,
And so
because
now I
you
am. Now I
may not
am.
have an interest, but then you
But
may
no,
end up having an
but
interest.
now I am. But I'm just saying that your prophet of the Seventh Adventist Church has made some pretty big claims that you're saying, well, you're just not interested in researching, and yet her plan of salvation. So it doesn't worry me what she says or didn't say, because I don't believe she was a true prophet. I believe she was a false prophet. But it interests me of the sociological perspective of why people see her as being so important, and yet they kind of dismiss her key plan of salvation as not being relevant to them. That's my thing. Like you said to me, if this is actually something you truly believe, the earth is a sphere, I need to be able to answer some of these questions more effectively. And if your claim is that Ellen White is a prophet, it's nothing to do with my interest. It's interesting to me that people who claim that this person, I mean, she has a plan of salvation for these last days, that you've moved to acreage to make sure that you're ready. Why wouldn't you look at some of the keener aspects of her claims?
Well, I mean, I have looked at some of those things, but I can't recite them. I've spent a lot of time in knowing what she said, but I won't say I'm a scholar at it. And like I said, I'm just happy. I'm happy with my understanding of that subject. And when I
But isn't
don't
that
get,
like me saying I'm happy with my study of
yes,
the sphere without looking into the flat Earth?
correct,
I'm not doing that. I'm saying
correct.
I'm saying, oh, okay, Alan has raised some questions here I'm going to look into. So why wouldn't you do the same with Ellen White and her really specific, unique claims of last day events, what you must do? She has given you the plan of salvation of what you must do.
Okay, well, maybe there'll come a time that all the other businesses of life, like getting all the projects done here, getting our business, which is our Young Living side of our business life, sorted, because we train a lot and teach a lot of people all over the world in the health area. When all that stuff's all quietened down, maybe then I start another focus, because I've
Well,
gone
your
through.
probation might have closed by then.
Oh well.
Too late.
Too late.
You're putting the cares of the earth in front of the most important plan of salvation.
But is it?
Well, that's what she claims.
Well, that's okay. It's okay.
But isn't she your prophet?
I don't know if she's my prophet. I just like what I like a lot of stuff that she said, but she was wrong in a lot of things too. She said cinnamon is an astringent. Is not good for the body.
They're not belief claims that have a magnitude of importance for your salvation. They're just human error. But when she says God told me this, and this, I'm just surprised Adventists don't look at it more deeply. You've read The Great Controversy, at least. That's a good start.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing.
You love that book.
I love that book. It's an amazing book. I'll mow the lawn here with it in my headphones, and I'll be listening to it from beginning to end.
Well, it's in that book that she talks about these very things.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a Bible scholar. I'm not a theologian, and I don't have really a lot to say on the subject. It's a bit sad that we go onto this subject, because if that's something that I spend a lot of my time research, I would have an opinion, but I don't have a definite opinions. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I don't know.
Well, that's how I've landed on this topic of the flat Earth. So
stationary Earth. You've got to change that word, because the flat Earth is a laughing stock, and it's the.
But isn't the stationary Earth that? Not that.
Yeah, but my mountains around here, they're not like that. They're up and down all over the place. So the shape of it, I really don't know. I just know it's not moving.
But that's just topography.
It is, but I know it's not moving. I can't prove its shape. I just know it's not moving, because we can't be doing 2.1.
You also said at the start that it's not a sphere.
Correct. It's not a sphere.
So you have an idea of its shape.
I just know it's not moving, and I know it's not a sphere. What it is, I can't quantify.
So what are your options?
It's a footstool in the mansion in God's mansion, and it has 4 pillars, and there's a covering over the top which protects us from the ocean outside. That's about as far as I can go with it. it's very, like, if someone wants to read Genesis, I know if you want to have the time to read the first 3 or 4 verses of Genesis, it's quite obvious to me what it's saying. That's where I base my the mean. That's where everything all points to that. And I don't think anyone could really go against me on that belief. I don't see why they would, because a lot of people believe that the Bible is the Word of God. I believe it is. There's a lot of other books written too, which is quite fascinating as well, like the Apocrypha, Joshua and the Book of Enoch, and that. There's some incredible stuff in those books.
Well, Ellen White supported the reading of those books and encouraged people to actually do so.
Yeah, because we'll just move out of the sun. We don't know much at all about those subjects, because it's often poo-hooed by scholars to say, oh, well, it's not part of the Bible, so we won't have nothing to do with it. But then I have other people say, well, don't trust the King James Bible because it was Rome that made it, the popes. So it depends on how deep you want to go down that rabbit hole and turn your brain inside out. I just don't know. I haven't. I don't know. Just don't know. That's not a very good answer.
I don't know is a perfectly good answer.
Because I don't know much. I'm just asking lots and lots of questions.
And I think I wasn't trying to put you on the spot with Ellen White. I was really just saying that obviously the stationary Earth theory is important to you, and I was just wondering how that dovetails with Ellen White's message, I guess, and because you'd think that if Great Controversy is a good book, and if her message for these very last times, Ellen is suggesting that the plan of salvation incorporates proving Satan's claim wrong that you can't keep the commandments and therefore vindicating God. I don't believe that, but that's her claim. It's her central claim. So therefore, if your modality and interest is in stationary Earth, you then do have to work out what the 7 days are, because she very clearly says that once probation closes, Jesus will remove himself as intercessor, and you must stand, the righteous righteous, the unrighteous unrighteous, but the righteous team chosen for the final game of post-probation closing test of salvation, proving Satan's claim wrong, they have to be potentially able to fail, or Satan's claim that they're just puppets isn't proven wrong. And so whether you believe in a sphere or a flat Earth, if you're a Seventh-day Adventist that loves the Great Controversy and believes in Ellen White, all that you teach must point to her last day's specific plan of salvation message, because that is the whole reason Adventism exists. And so all the knowledge you have and the 7 days, whether you and I are right or wrong on any of that, if the Lord is coming soon, and if Ellen's plan of salvation is true, then all I was saying to you is, well, what is that? And shouldn't you know? Because if someone's going to be asking you about it and testing you and putting you on the spot, you have to be able to defend that. Just like me, if I'm going to have ongoing discussions with people that believe in a stationary Earth, I have to get better at being able to defend or ask better questions of their claim.
Yeah.
And so I guess, it'd be good to get you back sometime to take this perspective of Ellen White's visions and claims of this last day key plan of salvation, because I would imagine that's a pretty important ingredient and component to be able to understand clearly.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can't disagree with what you're saying at all.
But it
We
just
agree
sounded
on
like you're a bit dismissive of whatever she says. That doesn't matter. I don't believe that.
No, not at all. Maybe being put on the spot about that is probably sounding confusing. I'm sounding confusing.
Threw you a bit. I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, I'm sort of stuck for words. I'm really stuck for words. So all those people watching are going to be going, "The guy's a bit of a dummy. He doesn't know."
No, I'm often stuck for words. I keep doing the show. I keep talking. I keep going on. I don't think you're stuck for words. I think there's things that you don't agree with her, but you now need to go hang on.
I can't think of any. I can't think of those things I don't agree with it. I mean, for her to have those visions and she stands up holding books and she wasn't breathing for hours and lots of stuff.
Well, that's speculative. There's a lot of evidence that didn't happen.
Oh, okay.
Like, for example, Loughborough is the one who claimed that occurred. But when an eyewitness was actually asked, she said no, she held up a heavy book, the Bible, not the one that they say, and she held it for a minute or two. Whereas by the time it gets to Loughborough, whose sister told him, and she said someone that was there told her, it's now like a 40-pound, 8-kilo, whatever book. I did a show on it, and I held up an 8-kilo or 10-kilo, whatever weight, like she would have done at the 45-degree angle, and I lasted about 2 minutes. But that's just an example of speculation that actually isn't based on fact. And so my point isn't all these, she ate cinnamon or ate meat and she was flawed. She had a plan of salvation that God gave her, the claim is, and that was to vindicate God and prove Satan's claim wrong, and probation closes. Jesus removes his intercessory power because Satan said, without Jesus, you can't keep the commandments. And the plan of salvation is to prove him wrong. Yes, we can. We will keep the seventh-day Sabbath during that time. And we will do it. We will keep it. And so if you're claiming that whatever you keep your 7 days on a stationary earth or a sphere, you probably need to back what she is saying in vision, not be dismissive of that.
Maybe this is proving I'm not that intelligent.
No, it's not at all. This topic of stationary Earth, like I took a big risk, because it's not my field of expertise. So it's nothing to do with someone's intelligence. It's just simply, I believe, my hunch is that Adventists have become cultural Adventists, happy Sabbath, let's enjoy the food and the nature and potluck lunch and sing some lovely worship songs. And they don't really know what their prophet teaches. They don't really know what the spirit of prophecy is. So I'm interested not in the content, but in the lack of Adventists themselves understanding of their prophet and their church's key claim.
Well, weren't we claimed to be Laodicean? Maybe that's the proof.
Yes, good point. Like the reality is that the scholars, the academics, they've sat here with me, people with 3 PhDs, and said, I don't know. So my point is not whether we are smart or not smart. My point is that the Adventist membership are clearly not understanding their core doctrine, their key reason for being. None of them. I'm a very average person, and I sit here every day stumping traditional Adventists, smart Adventists, scholars, all of these guys, because they don't even know what the core teaching of Adventism is. So I guess what I'm trying to do is raise awareness that if people want to be real Adventists, they'd better start studying what their prophet is teaching and have some kind of an ability to present it, defend it, or deny it.
So do you have a prophet?
No.
Do you have any, what do you believe will be our future here on this earth?
I don't believe the end is imminent, and people will disagree with me. I'll have friends watching this right now and go that are former Adventists and disagree with me. You've just asked me my personal
Yeah,
views,
yeah.
and we'd take another hour if I was to defend my claims. But I don't make any claims, and since leaving the Adventist Church, I have hung on to certain things that I have found were able to help me keep my framework and identity whole and together.
Yeah.
But all I settled on, and I've said this many times on the show, and I do it to be open and honest. There, I don't think anyone can make any significant faith claims, because anyone's belief that is eventually settled on because of faith, well, anyone could make a belief claim based on faith, like Odin, Thor,
course.
flat Earths, stationary Earths. Everyone is making certain belief claims. We stumble along the best we can with the knowledge we have, and I enjoy science because I like measuring and understanding and observing. But for me personally, after I've left 10 years ago now, but after a couple of years, I was like, whoa, I'm just spinning out of understanding of who I am and what I believe, and maybe there's nothing at all. And I was quite agnostic in my stance. But where I landed was, do you know what? I actually really appreciate what, the Greco, Judeo, Christian modality and method of looking at the world has brought, a lot of good into the world, a lot of bad as well, not saying that. But what I hung on to, in a long answer to your question, is the teachings of Jesus from the four Gospels. All the other stuff can be speculated, discussed in ways that can't be proven, equally to Ellen White holding up a Bible for 45 minutes. It's 40 pounds, pretty improbable. But what I can stand on are that there's some pretty great teachings that Jesus shared with the planet, about loving your enemy, turning the other cheek, going the extra mile, doing to others what you'd want them to do to you. Or I like the inverse of that: don't do to others what you wouldn't want them to do to you. And, for a long period of time, that's all I was able to nestle into. Teachings of Jesus from the four Gospels. Now, as I'm growing and learning and exploring and using my brain to understand broader topics, I'm now looking at the epistles of Paul and what does Revelation mean, and let's look at Genesis from a different perspective. And I'm now being more open to various ideas and thoughts. But I still have found that no one can really claim to truly know spiritual, supernatural belief claims.
So you don't think the Genesis account of creation is actual? Because it could be.
100% I don't.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a metaphor. It's a beautiful metaphor. But there's no way I believe personally that the earth is 6,000 to 10,000 years old.
So if aliens have actually penetrated this space and they're here in this world, they've come from other worlds, is that a belief that you'd
I equally would dismiss that as implausible as a 6-day creation.
Hang on. But you're not a 6-day creation, so therefore you would go along.
And I am not believing an alien comes to the planet as well. I'm saying that both are implausible and improbable.
So then what if somehow, playing the devil's advocate, you saw an alien craft turn up above your town? What would you think that was?
I'd start going, whoa, hang on, that's a little bit more empirical data I might need to explore. And maybe that, if that happened, very improbable, a
Could it
very
be
implausible thing to happen.
Is it possible that could actually be absolutely real, coming from another planet, or
As
could
real as me
could
going
it
into my
be?
garden now and finding a bunch of fairies there building a little house under the back tree, or me going somewhere out in the bush in the Wadigans and coming across a unicorn. It's equally as possible that an alien ship could land in my backyard tonight,
And could it literally be from another so-called universe?
as literal as finding a unicorn in the Wadigan Mountains, as
Yeah.
possible and plausible as that. I would say improbable.
So now let me just throw an idea out then. If you believe we're on a spinning water ball hurtling through space at 2.1 million miles an hour, which no one can comprehend because that's what you do believe, whether you know it or not.
Well, I believe we are going around the sun, which is a sphere.
Which
We are
that
part
is,
of a solar system that are a bunch of spheres, and that
yeah.
all of them are hurtling through space.
And you get that belief because of George's Lemaitre in 1927. That's why you believe that, because that's
No,
where it came
I
from.
just find when I look at the evidence, it is more plausible than believing an alien could come on my doorstep, or I could find a unicorn, or that there are fairies, or that Odin is real.
Okay.
I'm
So
just
then,
saying that they're more
hang on.
it's more plausible
So
to look
then,
at some of those scientific data than to believe something that is a supernatural claim.
so there are people around the world that actually believe that would actually happen. That's going to happen. They're applauding it.
That what's going to happen?
They want the alien ships to come. They want UFOs
Sure.
to come.
And
They
there could be 10 million people believe that. It doesn't make it more right or wrong. Yeah.
But if those people then started to understand what I'm coming to believe, that we are a room in God's mansion with a canopy over the top and an ocean surrounding us, then nothing can come in, nothing can go out. Whatever we do see is going to be a Satan's deception. Then you can't be fooled. Less chance of being fooled.
But look, honestly, I have researched Odin and the Vikings' belief in that god, and their claims are very similar to what you're saying there. Why are you more right than them? Why can you have a more accurate stance on that belief claim than them? You can't.
No more than what you can with your belief.
Exactly. And I'm not making a belief claim. I'm just saying the data, the empirical data for me that I've studied, and I'm going to research more.
Well, I've got the same thing, empirical data that I've studied.
Yeah. But we've already established that you continue to see red flags in both. You're not sure why it should take 30 hours to fly to Joburg instead of 14.
Yeah, but don't hang everything of what we've said on that one.
No, I'm not going to.
Because we've
I'm not going
spoken
to.
to 3 subjects. There's about 20,000 subjects that we
Yeah,
haven't
I'm
explored.
just saying that that if you're making some kind of supernatural claim that is otherworldly, then your faith in that is equal to someone who believes in Odin making that claim. And that's okay. I've got no problem with people choosing to believe in something based on anecdotal data. And me believing in a sphere or not is not a spiritual claim. That's a material. I think this Earth is a globe. Let's look at some data, and it seems to add up to me. But we're talking two different things. There's the physical realm, which we can analyze and measure, and we can draw conclusions, and we can agree, disagree. We can come at it from all sorts of positions, be right or wrong. But when someone adds the supernatural claim component, like Ellen G. White, the Sunday Law, Odin, all of that stuff, I then start to go, whoa, no one can really prove that. They seem quite confident in thinking they can. Like you mentioned there that, the way you see things helps to keep you clear of Satan's deception. And I've just pointed out, well, that's not necessarily the case, because people who believed in Odin made the same claims.
So does Satan exist in your world?
I am still exploring the notion of good and evil, sin, bad behavior. I'm still a babe in the woods with all my studies.
There's Yeshua. Have a belief in Yeshua in this, because if you can't quantify the devil, then you'd have the same issue
Well,
with
this
the
this
Yeshua.
this is
subject.
why I said to you, I respect that people draw conclusions and come to beliefs in certain supernatural things that they can't actually quantify. I'm totally supportive of people doing that, and just because I do doesn't mean I can quantifiably prove it. So I also fall into the same categories as those who believe in Odin. And if you say, "Do you believe in God?" Well, a part of me wants to say, "Well, which God?" Because they're all able to be proven or disproven. And so at some point we all land on a decision of, you know what, I'm gonna believe these certain things, and some things I just don't know. And one thing I do know, which I landed on, was I really value the teachings of Jesus in the four Gospels. And I felt that I was kind of losing my identity, my understanding of the world, and so I needed to have something that I could actually draw upon that stopped me plummeting to to the stationary earth. And I found a lot of peace in that, and I've also found a lot of what Christians call grace, where you get to go, okay, I've got a bit of time now to process and learn and understand and do more research on some of the deeper topics.
Well, I kind of go along with you. By the way, I applaud what you do on this channel, by the way.
Thank
Sort
you.
of throw that in because you've stepped out on a limb, and good on you for stepping out on a limb. Because
We
a lot
both
of
do
people,
that.
you'll have a lot of people that hate you and a lot of people that love you. And I'll be on the love side because I think you do it's good what you're doing because it just there's nothing wrong with talking about things. So the part that I totally agree with you on is I think we're going to, right at this point in history, I think we're a long way from the second coming because I do believe there's a second coming. That's totally in my DNA. But for something major has to happen because when I walk down the street, say in our apartment over there in Greece, and I go down up the shop, buy my lovely spanakopita, and you can sit down, you can have your frappes and that sort of stuff. You see these people mingling, and they look like what do they call it? NPOs, what they call non-playing entities, NPEs, non-playing entities in a computer game. They're just in the background, and they don't have any specific beliefs, or they do in Greece. They're Greek Orthodox, but no one really practices it. And I'm thinking, there's got to be something really major has to happen. And the people like when in Montenegro last week, they had a fun run on. There must have been 1 million people there, and you could guarantee that they don't know anything about this stuff. How the hell are people going to ever understand any of this information unless some major bombshell hits the world that makes people think, like COVID made people think, they're nothing surer. COVID woke a lot of people up. The moon landings, I know you believe in the moon landing, that's woken a lot of people up too, to realize that we're in a world that's full of deceit and lies. Just look at the medical system.
And it's only going to get worse.
I mean, I almost went, here we go. I feel like I'm at a funeral or I'm at a wedding because there's a lot of people on this channel that I haven't seen for probably 40 years. so, what was I going to say? Oh, man. So going with that. Too many things going on in the head. Keep talking. I'll think of what I'm about to say. Oh.
Well, I think one of the things that you and I agree on is that, for example, I mentioned to you off air in the early days of COVID and all of the stuff that was going down, and here I was, formerly a full-time musician, suddenly no gigs.
Yeah.
I simply asked a couple of questions, very genuine. I wasn't taking a side. I was just going, oh, what's going on here? What happens to this? And I received a massive amount of backlash just by asking some questions. And one of the things I think is common ground between you and I is we've got no problem asking questions, and they might be hard and we might feel, oh, that's difficult, or oh, that made me uncomfortable, or whatever it does. asking questions can be confronting, and that's okay. And I appreciate that you've said that you like the channel, because that is my point. Is I don't one of the things that I've done a lot is kind of support the right of Des Ford's message to be told and heard, and his whole Glacier View story where, you know, he was basically put through a kangaroo court. Not because I necessarily believe in what Des Ford believed in, but because I believe in people's right to share what they believe. I've often said I'm a street epistemologist. I'm asking people what they believe, why they believe it, and can they defend it. And today's conversation has demonstrated that, you know, I stand behind my goal with this channel, and my focus is on Adventism because that's what I have known best. But my point is, and this is where we have common ground, is that it's okay to ask questions and share a variety of viewpoints, whether we agree or not. My goal is that we can find the common ground, you know, and you've got your guitar in the background. You and I, you know, have common ground.
Looks like Roy Orbison, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. You and I share a love of guitar. I love going to cafes and having a coffee and looking at the lake. There are plenty of things that people can find that they do agree upon, but I'm interested in observing how heated people get when their beliefs and ideas are challenged.
Absolutely.
And I believe it's okay to enter into, you know, challenging conversations where people just simply say, well, what does that mean? What do you believe? I don't know why there's so much pushback on that.
This subject brings out the real nuts and bolts of humanity, of either love or absolute extreme hatred. I mean, some of the comments that were on that chat, like, that's like, wow, they're out there. And there's going to be a heap of them more about it. There's no reason to be upset, angry, pissed off, or anything. It's just wind coming out of someone's mouth, and it can't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong with having a different opinion to someone else. That's what I was going to say. Years ago, when we had this, I got in all sorts of trouble with the medical system because I've had a formula. I've still got a formula, but I'm not allowed to use it because of reasons of
I remember
jail.
this. I remember this.
Yeah, and I got myself into so much hot water because we were using the word C-U-R-E. You know, that spells, and that other word starts with C and it ends in ER, because we were curing thousands and thousands of people. I almost landed in jail over that blinking formula. Okay? And you can lose friends just like that over a conversation that you know full well that what you've done is good and it's worked. You know, the formula, I can even openly tell everyone the formula. Frankincense, copaiba, peppermint, clove, balsam fir, zinc, fat.
You're trying to get my station cancelled. Is that what you're trying to do?
I didn't mention the word, right? I didn't mention it. But that subject is taboo, because you are not a person with a stethoscope and a white coat with a brag certificate around the wall. So therefore you can't talk. You don't have access to help another human being. You know, so it's those sorts of things that have to happen in people's lives to realize we are not in a world of cotton wool and feathers, when we've got to be tough enough around and basically surround ourselves in cotton wool and feathers, because there's a lot of darts that get thrown at you if you have a different opinion or a different belief, and there's no reason for that to happen. So I hope people that do hear this and are watching aren't just come back and take a breath and have a bit of love and consideration of other people's beliefs, because it's not that bad. Life is amazing. And we've got to love.
And I think if you can always land on, I don't know, and maybe or maybe not, and I might be wrong. I think they're healthy things.
Yeah, I got a lot of that. I don't know.
Hey, we're going to have to leave it there. I've
Okay.
really enjoyed this conversation. When are
Yeah,
you down in
likewise.
Cooranbong next? I'll shout you lunch at the local cafe.
Well, if we're down there, we'll be in the mothership, so you can come to our place for lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, love to catch up.
And notice I've changed the topic there. The Earth is
Oh,
stationary.
you have too. The Earth is station. Good, thank you, because that's just makes you a laughing stock. That word FLAT.
I'd still love if you could draw an artist impression from your mind of just not what you're willing to, not a hill you want to die on, but I'm a visual person. I want to get an idea of what your, if you're looking from Ellen White's other prophets, other planets and angels looking in, what do they see? I'm just interested in that.
Well, look,
One day you can draw me a picture when,
Well, look, all I can imagine is we are God's footstool, and His feet are on top of this stool with the four pillars.
Do you know
and we're
that
in a mansion in heaven somewhere?
do you know that the Hindus have a very similar belief?
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Yeah. So maybe you could explore that as an alternative
Yeah, I'll have
belief
a bit of a search. I'll ask my Gemini AI person if he knows something about that.
Yeah. They believe on a turtle, not a stool.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Bible says stool. So, and if you go to Gaudi's church down there in Europe, you can see this monstrous big church with pillars sitting on a turtle. Like when you see that church, you just got to sit in the corner and cry because it's just majestic as crap.
Well, we will
word.
leave it there. And I really appreciate your time today. Just a
Likewise,
reminder,
Peter.
everybody, tomorrow we find common ground on our weekly program, starting at the time we started today, which is 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, and 11:30 a.m. New South Wales time. So Thursday in USA evening and lunchtime. You're welcome to join us. It's a lovely gospel presentation. Just focusing on the good news, the simple stuff. We don't go into all the speculative kind of realm, and you can find that on YouTube. Just search at Gospel Good News Fellowship. And thanks everybody for clicking the like button. Like and subscribe really helps. And if you can throw a couple of dollars my way, paypal.me/Peter Dixon Music, it means I can keep delivering this content and having interesting guests like Alan on the program. So thanks
and
again.
Hello to all my friends I haven't seen for a very, very long time.
Yes.
And don't throw tomatoes at me when you see me.
Hey, I'm looking forward to reading chat. Honestly, I hardly glanced at it because I was trying to really engage with what you were saying.
My mum had anxiety over it.
Yes, I know. She was writing to me at midnight. And love you, Faye. Keep asking the big questions, but be prepared to be asked some in return.
Yeah.
Well, until next time, thank you, Alan, and thank you, everybody, for watching. Look forward to seeing you all again very soon.
Yeah, lots of love, Peter. Stay well.
You too, mate. All the best.
Okay, see ya. Bye-bye.